For years, he was the most recognizable voice on American television. Yo, dog, that's going to be a no from me. Beautiful, baby. Randy Jackson, the heartbeat of American Idol for over a decade. The man who helped launch the careers of Kelly Clarkson, Jennifer Hudson, Carrie Underwood, and a generation of artists. He came back to the Idol stage recently as a guest mentor, and the reaction from fans wasn't what anyone expected. Not excitement, not nostalgia, not the warmth of a beloved figure returning. Concern, real, immediate, worried concern. And the question that flooded social media after that appearance deserves an honest answer. Not speculation, not alarm, but the actual story of what Randy Jackson has been carrying for over 2 decades. Randy Jackson is 69 years old. In the future youth zone, he was a judge on American Idol from its debut in 2002 through 2013. Over a decade of sitting at that table, delivering critiques, and becoming one of the most quoted personalities in reality television. Before Idol, he had a serious career as a musician and music industry professional. He played bass on recordings for artists including Mariah Carey, Bruce Springsteen, and Whitney Houston. He worked as an A&R executive. He was, in the music world, a genuine industry figure long before television made him. After Idol, he continued working, producing, developing his wellness brand Unify Health Labs, focused on gut health and lifestyle management. He appeared recently alongside Paula Abdul, his former Idol co-star, as a guest mentor for the show's top 5 contestants. It should have been a feel-good reunion moment. Instead, within hours of the broadcast, social media was flooded with concern. Fans noted he appeared remarkably thin, that he remained seated throughout the segment. He did not stand up once. That his voice was hoarse and soft. The words people kept using were frail, worried. Is he okay? So, is he? And what is the honest answer? Here is what is important to establish clearly before anything else. Randy Jackson has not announced a new diagnosis. There is no undisclosed illness that has been revealed. The social media speculation about what might be wrong with him is exactly that, speculation. What exists instead is a documented medical history that is entirely public, shared by Jackson himself over many years, that provides context for everything fans observed in that appearance. It starts in 2002. The same year American Idol debuted, Randy Jackson was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. That diagnosis was significant and serious. Type 2 diabetes, unmanaged, is a condition that affects nearly every system in the body. It requires ongoing management, dietary, medical, lifestyle, for the rest of a person's life. In 2003, 1 year into Idol, 1 year into his diagnosis, Jackson underwent gastric bypass surgery. The surgery was successful in its immediate goals. He lost over 100 pounds. He spoke publicly about the procedure and about his diabetes management. He became, in some ways, a public face for the health challenges that many Americans face. Gastric bypass surgery is not a one-time event with a fixed endpoint. It is a permanent alteration of the digestive system with long-term consequences that continue to evolve over decades. Long-term bariatric surgery patients frequently experience ongoing changes in how their bodies absorb nutrition. Over time, over 20-plus years, as in Jackson's case, these changes can result in significant shifts in body composition, facial appearance, and overall physical profile. What fans saw on that Idol stage is, at least in significant part, the 2-decade downstream effect of a surgery Jackson had in 2003. But the gastric bypass is not the only piece of the medical. In 2019, Randy Jackson underwent a major spinal operation to address a severe back injury. Spinal surgery of this nature, particularly at the level described as major, has significant and lasting effects on physical mobility. The recovery is long, the limitation be permanent. This, the 2019 spinal surgery, is almost certainly the direct explanation for the detail that alarmed fans most in his recent Idol appearance. He did not stand up. At any point during the segment, he remained completely seated throughout his interactions. That is not a casual choice. That is a person managing the lasting physical consequences of a serious surgical procedure. Combine that with over 20 years of type 2 diabetes management, with the long-term effects of gastric bypass surgery from 2003, with the natural physical changes that come with being 69 years old after decades of significant health challenges. And the picture that emerges is not a mystery illness. It is a human being who has been managing serious, compounding, documented health conditions for most of his adult life, and who showed up anyway. Here is what the viewers on X and Reddit in the comment sections were responding to, and why their concern, while understandable, was being filtered through an incomplete picture. When most fans last saw Randy Jackson regularly, he looked different. He was heavier, he moved differently. The Idol version of Randy Jackson that lived in people's memories was formed over a decade of weekly television appearances that ended in 2013. That was 12 years ago. A person who has spent those 12 years managing type 2 diabetes, living with the long-term effects of gastric bypass surgery, and recovering from major spinal surgery looks different at 69 than they did at 57. That is not alarming. That is the reality of long-term health management. But television and the parasocial relationships that reality television in particular creates can make the gap between memory and reality feel like a rupture. Something must have happened because the person looks so different from how we remember them. Something did happen. 20 plus years of documented medical happened. While no one can know from the outside what Jackson's current day-to-day health looks like in full, because he has not announced any new diagnosis and that information belongs to him, the visible changes have documented explanations that don't require speculation to understand. Here is the part of the story that deserves to be said plainly. Randy Jackson came back to American Idol. Not because he had to, not because anyone required it. He showed up, seated, hoarse, visibly thinner than the version of him that lives in people's memories, and he did the job. He mentored contestants, he offered critique, he was, by accounts of the appearance, engaged and passionate and present in exactly the way the good mentors are. The physical limitations were visible. He didn't hide them, he didn't pretend they weren't there, he just showed up and did the work anyway. There is something worth honoring in that, quietly, without turning it into an inspiration narrative that reduces a complex person. He's been managing serious health conditions for over 20 years. He has done it publicly with more transparency than many public figures would choose. He has built a wellness brand around the things he has learned. He has continued working, and he came back to the stage that made him famous. Changed, limited in some ways, but present. That is not a tragedy. That is a person living their life through difficulty and continuing to show up for the things that matter to them. There are things we genuinely don't know about Randy Jackson's current health. He has not announced a new diagnosis. That absence could mean several things: that there is no new diagnosis to announce, or that there is something he is managing privately that he has chosen not to share publicly. Either possibility deserves to be treated with the same respect. His medical information, we can say, is that the documented history, the 2002 diabetes diagnosis, the 2003 gastric bypass, the 2019 spinal surgery, provides more than enough context to explain what fans observed without requiring speculation about something additional. His continued work with Unify Health Labs suggests an ongoing engagement with health advocacy that is active rather than withdrawn. His willingness to appear on national television in his current physical state without apparent apology or explanation suggests a person who is not hiding from the public reality of what long-term health management looks like. That transparency, if that's what it is worth something. American Idol built careers. It launched voices that are still filling arenas 20 years later. And Randy Jackson was at the table for all of it. The genuine excitement, the terrible auditions, the moments where someone walked in, unknown, and walked out, about to become famous. He was present for that, week after week, season after season. The man who came back to that stage recently is not the same physical person fans remember from. He is older. He has been through significant medical challenges, documented, public, serious ones. His body reflects that, but he is still there, still engaged, still offering what he has to offer to the next generation of artists, trying to find their voice on. Fan concern that flooded social media after his appearance was real, and it came from a real place, from people who care about someone they feel they know, who notice something different, and worried. That concern is understandable. The story it was trying to tell, the mystery illness, the undisclosed crisis, is not the story the facts support. The story the facts support is quieter and more human than that. A 69-year-old man, 2 decades of serious health management, a spinal surgery, a stage he helped build, and a return, seated, hoarse, thinner than memory but present. Yo, dog, he still showed up. Let me know what you think.